Welcome everyone to this pick a card reading. My name is Gabby Turner. It's nice to have you. In this video, we're going to be getting a message from your pet and or your familiar. And for those of you specifically who, maybe view yourselves as witches and having a kind of a spiritual, magical connection and view the animal that you're, wanting to learn more about in this reading as a familiar, there will be an extended reading option as well. But first, what we're going to be asking in this video is we're going to be asking your pet / familiar how I see and understand myself. So how does the animal understand themselves? How I see and understand you. So you, the person watching this. And how I see and understand our purpose in each other's lives. In the extended video, we'll be asking about the animal's empowerment to you as a familiar. So what do they want to know about how they empower you as a familiar? Also, how you empower the animal as a witch. And also, in the extended, we'll get their channeled message to you. So just a channeled message, anything that they want to say to you. Okay, so again, in this initial reading, how I see and understand myself. This is the animal. How I see and understand you. How they understand you, the person watching this. And how I see and understand our purpose in each other's lives. That's what we'll be looking at in the video that you're watching now. And if you want to go to the extended, there will be information on how to do that in the description box below. But we have 3 options. And these 3 options are represented by these little kitty cat bowls. And they're all slightly different, and they have slightly different contents. I'll hold them up so you can see. So there's a bubblegum sticker, this gold rutile or rutilated quartz piece, and some rose petals in this first bowl. All of these have a little dust in them as well as these contents that have been accumulated. I don't even know why I have this in here. I put these out on my windowsill as little offerings for fairies and gnomes and whoever else. So this has, it's stuck together. What is this called? A candy cane. It's fortune. It says, no act of kindness, however small, is ever wasted. I have a little elephant keychain and these ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's slippers. So that's what's in bowl number 2. And in bowl number 3, we're keeping it simple. We have tourmalined quartz, a whole bunch of them. We also have this, I forget what this is called. It's a little rosette. And right now I can't remember what stone this is. But it's a little carved rosette stone. And this little wrench, tiny little wrench, which I thought the gnomes would enjoy having around, which is why I put it in there. But anyway, so we have those 3 options. You can use your timestamps or chapters below to go to your reading, and then we will tune into your pet. All right, welcome to everybody who chose option number 1, this little cat bowl here with the bubble gum, the rose petals, and the gold rutilated quartz. So we've got a lot of cards. I'm going to explain because the top layer are playing cards. So even for myself, because I don't use playing cards a lot, I kind of have to remind myself of what each of these represents. So we have the King of Diamonds, which is like the King of Pentacles, the 8 of Cups, the Queen of Swords, the Ace of Cups, and the 5 of Wands. And down below with these, I can't think of what these are called, but these cards, we have Melancholy, Thought, Thief, Journey, Enemy, and Merchant. So this animal has so what we're starting off here with is just how this animal sees and understands itself. This animal who you may view as your pet. I know sometimes people don't like to use the term pet, but whatever. We're talking about an animal who you have a close bond with, and or some sort of relationship with, and I think that this animal views themselves as being very in control of their life. This animal is actually very, almost like philosophical in a way. You know, they actually have a very strong ability to think, and they probably think about things which are, I mean, almost like philosophical, like what is the meaning of life, you know? And I think this is an animal too that understands that it is on a particular sort of journey in life. With thief and journey, there is a mischievous quality as well, because this animal knows that it can get what it wants out of life if it plays its cards right. You know, it has come to understand that there are ways of getting what you want out of life. And sometimes it's a little bit like playing poker, you know, like sometimes you have to keep your cards close to your chest. You can't reveal everything. You know, with thief and enemy especially, like I think this animal kind of accepts the fact that in life there are going to be protagonists and antagonists. And this animal isn't viewing that negatively. It's saying, okay, you know, it's kind of like a play. You know, there's always going to be conflict. There are going to be other animals or humans or whoever, or just life obstacles that are going to present as challenges, i.e. the enemy. But this animal is taking it all in stride. It's not necessarily viewing all of that in such a negative way. It's like, okay, you know, a little bit of conflict or obstacle, that's just part of what life has to offer. And being alive means navigating all of these obstacles that we have. I do sense as well with the King of Pentacles and the Eight of Cups, this is an animal who understood early on that it would need to be responsible and that life involves a sense of duty and responsibility. And also, this is an animal that understands loss. You know, maybe this is an animal who has lost a loved one, or they've had to move from a place that they liked, or, you know, in some sense, they know that nothing lasts forever. This is a very mature animal, mature in its mindset, mature in its understanding of life. You know, I would think, obviously, most likely it doesn't have the ability to speak in human language, but like I think in terms of its complex understanding of what life is all about, this animal is pretty much on the level of human. This is a very intelligent animal. And I don't know. I mean, I do feel like we have melancholy and the Eight of Cups. These are sort of both melancholy sort of cards. And it's kind of like this animal understands that sadness is a part of life. But I do sense an overall optimistic acceptance of that. I don't think that this is a sad animal. It's just a realistic in its frame of mind. It's very realistic about life. Life brings us happiness and positive moments and opportunities, but life also presents with challenges. And with the Queen of Swords and the Ace of Cups, I feel like this animal recognizes, you know, we have to be wise. We have to wise up. You know, this is an animal that feels like it has to have street smarts in order to survive. You know, it's tough out there on the streets. You know, maybe this is an animal that has been out on the streets, or it's had to fend for itself. But, you know, regardless, it has some sort of understanding that we're in a, quote, dog-eat-dog world, you know, regardless of whether this is a dog or not. Yeah, there is that understanding. But I think that, you know, with the Ace of Cups and the Five of Wands, this animal has, like I said, it's come to embrace the ups and downs of life, the challenges of life in a sort of philosophical way. And I think mostly this animal kind of enjoys life. It even, in a way, it sort of enjoys the challenge. You know, it's like, well, at least it keeps things interesting, you know. I think as humans, we watch we watch sports tournaments or TV with a lot of drama, to keep life interesting in a way. And I think this cat is like, what? I don't need entertainment with conflict like that to keep me amused. Life just has conflict, and conflict is, in a way, a sort of amusement because it's a challenge. It's like a puzzle that has to be solved, and that's how they see it. Like, okay, if there's another animal who's trying to get to my food before I get to my food, like, that's just a challenge to be solved, and that life seems to be full of challenges like this. All right, next we're going to be looking at how does this animal perceive you. We have the Avenger. This is interesting. This is from a deck called the Bad Girl Oracle. We have green, restlessness, weight of truth. I intuitively chose which decks I was going to use for each segment of this, and we had some very interesting decks coming forward. We have the Six of Pentacles and then the Three of Wands. So let me take a moment to look at these and tune in. Let me move that card first. Okay, so first thing that I'm getting here is that this animal actually views you as being pretty similar to itself in the ways that I already described. That you are someone as well with the Avenger card, and I'm going to actually read this from the book because I think it's very pertinent. The Avenger is made, not born. Her state of mind evolved from a primal desire for vengeance, and she has the drive to carry it out by whatever means necessary. The Avenger is distinguished by her ability to weaponize her innate knowledge and her surroundings, and forgoes other elements of her personality until justice is served. In revenge films, the Avenger functions as karma personified, and her payback is defined by its symbolic, poetic flourish. When pulled upright, the Avenger may signal that comeuppance is on the menu, or that justice or resolution may be dealt in an unexpected way. She may also signal for you to examine if a wrong has been righted to your satisfaction. When pulled in reverse, the Avenger may signal that obsessing over a past transgression is keeping you stalled, or that you're too focused on an adversary's downfall. Forgiving and forgetting may not be in the Avenger's arsenal, but neither is stasis. So take this moment to consider how to move forward in your life. In the upright, justice, focus, motivation, and karma. Reversed, cruelty, rage, and obsession. So I feel like, this animal has noticed that you are someone who also understands there are enemies in life, there are challenges in life, but you are a formidable foe. So if someone tries to act in a way that is unjust or unfair, your sense of righteousness is very focused on balancing the scale. So actually, I would kind of associate this card with the Justice card in the tarot. We also have, it's followed by green. So I feel like this animal feels very protected by you. So maybe that sense of justice is something that you have used to protect this animal and to make this animal feel safe. And they have observed that in you. They've seen the fact that you can be, you can be a little bit mean if you need to show someone that their behavior isn't correct, right? But you've done so primarily towards this animal in a way that protects it. So you've probably, protected this animal from problems and from adversity, maybe other animals or people who were, trying to hurt or just not treat this animal correctly, something along those lines, And maybe just in your general aura as well, they can tell that you're this type of person who's like not going to let people get one up on you or behave in a way that is unfair. We also get restlessness and weight of truth. So again, we saw that this animal itself is sort of philosophical. You know, it's thinking about the big questions in life. And there is a sense of sadness here too. Like, you know, this animal can tell that you have tasted sorrow. You know, you have experienced pain. Maybe this animal has even seen you crying, but regardless of whether they have, like they can just kind of sense it somehow. And that the animal sees you as someone who tries to find the meaning and purpose in those moments of sorrow, in those moments of sadness. And that you kind of try to see the silver lining here as well, I think, with the Six of Pentacles and the Three of Wands. Again, much like this animal, you can perceive that, you know, life is going to offer us, you know, again, with those scales of justice, life is going to offer us goodness and ease and happiness, enjoyment, but also trials and obstacles and conflict so that we can resolve and bring those two things into balance. Life is not always going to be fun, but it will be fun sometimes. And, you know, it's good to have a balanced life that does reward us and also challenge us. And the animal perceives you to be someone who embraces that. You know, whether that's true or not, this is how this animal sees you. We also get the Three of Wands. And so I think that the animal sees that you're someone who also wants to like sort of carve out opportunities for yourself. Although life is going to hand you whatever it hands you, you also make of that what you will. So yes, there will be challenges, but how are you going to experience those challenges? You can always try to make the best of them, right? This card always reminds me of, in the Twilight Zone, there's a famous episode, and this, as someone who I used to be like a very avid reader of books. I read a lot now, but mostly like scattered stuff on the internet. But when I was growing up, I read a lot, and I've worn glasses since I was in the 2nd grade. So this particular Twilight Zone episode really, I don't know, it's imprinted into my memory. But it's about this guy who works in a bank, but he's always like trying to steal away time to read books instead of doing his job. So he goes into the bank vault and he closes the bank vault so he can have time to read a book without being disturbed. And then the apocalypse comes and everything is destroyed, or like everyone is killed, right? And he comes out of the bank vault. He's the only person still alive. And there are all these books to read and all of the time in the world. And he's so happy. And then his glasses break, which he needs to read. I mean, I guess he could just hold the book really close to his face. That's what I would probably do. But yeah, I mean, it's like, this is life, right? You know, life will offer us all sorts of situations, and we can't control everything that life is bringing to us, but we can control how we respond and what we make of it. You know, the whole, if life hands you lemons, make lemonade type of thing. So this animal sees you as someone who tries to do that, but they also can tell that you struggle with that. You know, sometimes the weight and the burden of life does get you down. I mean, this animal can tell that sometimes you do, you know, surrender to sorrow. And I don't think that this animal is viewing that as negative. You know, it's just you know, responding to life in a very genuine way. All right, so the last question for this initial video, and then there will be the extended afterwards, is how does this animal see and understand your purpose in each other's lives? And I feel like this is your energy over here. A lot of cards, very colorful cards that I'm using. I'm going to have to back the camera up here so we can see everything. Hold on. All right, so I've got things situated in a way that's much easier to see now. I used 2 different decks. One, the Star Power over on the left to represent you, and the Mars Power Tarot on the right to represent this animal. And it's interesting because you both have the King of Swords reversed showing up. So these cards are you, these cards are the animal, and this is kind of the energy in between. And again, we're answering the question, how I see and understand our purpose in each other's lives. So how this animal sees and understands that. On your end, we have King of Swords reversed, Death reversed, High Priestess, and Three of Wands. I feel like this animal thinks that you're someone who's always sort of like intuitively or spiritually searching for the way forward in life. Always looking about how to move yourself forward in life, how to make progress. In particular, you might be someone who's trying to spiritually progress in a way. And you might think, well, how in the world would this animal know this? Sometimes animals just kind of sense things, or through observations, they understand it in their own particular way. Again, like I saw before, this is a very intelligent animal. And, that is reinforced by the fact that the King of Swords is coming up here. But yeah, they are seeing you as someone who's always trying to advance yourselves in a more spiritual, kind of ephemeral way. How to inwardly perfect yourself, and maybe outwardly as well. But with the King of Swords reversed and Death reversed, I think that this animal can tell that sometimes you may struggle for how to put that inner knowledge or inner wisdom about how to move forward, how to put it into use in a more practical way, in order to bring about the changes in the external world that you are seeking. So you seem to have mastered your inner landscape, your spiritual experience, but you could still be trying to figure out how to implement a more strategic plan for making the changes you want to make in your external or material experience of life. And this animal, on their end, they have Temperance reversed, King of Swords reversed, Five of Cups reversed, and the Chariot reversed. So what I get here is that this, like we saw before, this animal knows that it's on a journey. But I think that unlike you, this animal doesn't necessarily have a specific destination for where it wants to arrive. This animal is much more in the present moment. And it understands the present moment for what it is, which I've already explained this animal's perspective of the world before, so I won't do that again. But it doesn't have any particular goals in life. It lacks that, because mostly that's just more of a human thing. It's more human to have goals and objectives, like long-term goals that you're working towards. This animal is, just living in the moment and surviving the moment and thriving, trying to survive and thrive in the moment that it's in. And to be able to basically, be as happy as possible. I think with the Five of Cups reversed, this animal just doesn't want to succumb to misery. It probably has experienced emotional misery, so it clearly knows that that's a possibility, and it has experienced happiness and enjoyment. And so I think mostly this animal's approach to life and what it brings to you is maybe an understanding of how to be more present and in the moment like it is. And the energy between the two of you is earth and ground. So you both serve the purpose to ground each other in a sense of safety and security in the present moment. Maybe you're providing for this animal in a way that is sort of a buffer to it, so that it doesn't have to worry so much about survival. And that's what you're offering this animal. Like, you can relax. You can relax and not have to worry about everything so much. You can relax and not have to worry so much that the rug is going to be pulled out from under you. I do feel with the Five of Cups, though, that this animal still does have that sense a little bit that, whatever it has gained in life, whatever sense of comfort or security it has gained in life could be taken away from it at any moment. I do feel like this is probably an animal that has lived out in the elements. So maybe this has been an animal that was astray, or something like that, but it understands the forces of the natural world, and that nothing is permanent. You give this animal more of a sense of permanence and that it can rely on you. But even that is something that it's learning how to trust. So you're teaching this animal how to trust that it can rely on permanence, and that it can rely on a sustainable source of kindness and support and security and safety. And I think that what the animal is offering you is maybe through your interaction with the animal, seeing how you're doing this, how you providing for this animal in this way is a way that you can take that inner spiritual growth and put it into action in an external way. So it isn't necessarily about achieving some objective for yourself. It's about selflessness. Yeah, this animal is teaching you selflessness. I think you already feel that in your heart, and this animal is just giving you some sort of further opportunity to experience it in action by bestowing kindness and safety and love and support to this animal. Let me just pull a couple more cards to wrap this up. Yeah, I think that you're growing in your sense that you can put your spiritual priorities and your kind of spiritual ethics into practical use. You can make practical use of that feeling of love that you have in your heart and your desire to do good in the world. Of course, this animal just gives you an opportunity to do that. And you inspire this animal to understand that life can be safe and secure, and that there can be elements of our physical home and surroundings that we can reliably turn to as a source of comfort. So again, like if this is an animal that has lived outside in the elements and it didn't always have reliable shelter, you've shown this animal that reliable shelter is a possibility. And that's something that it can start to learn to trust and to not fear. And again, the energy in between is the Nine of Swords. I don't know, there seems to be like some sort of shared sorrow or something between you and this animal. Let me pull a clarifier. Yeah, it's a Nine of Swords and the Nine of Cups. It's like, wow, I think the two of you have some sort of sorrow that brings you together, that gives you hope. You show each other that there's still hope even in the darkest moments. That's really a beautiful message. I love that. I think I'm going to get one final message for you guys, though. Just a spiritual message. And then if you want, you can go into the extended reading. I'll remind you again what that is. And the extended will be looking at my empowerment as this animal to you as a familiar, your empowerment to me, your empowerment as a witch human to me as the animal, and the animal's channeled message to you. Okay, but I'm going to get one final just spiritual guidance message, anything that group 1 needs to know. And we have the High Priestess here. And I'm just going to read from the book from this Steampunk Tarot, because that's just what I'm feeling guided to do. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. She's completely batty, I tell you. Didn't say a word that whole time. Just sat there smiling at me. Maybe this has been sort of like some of what the interaction has been between you and this animal. Is that you just sit there and look at the animal and smile, and maybe you try to communicate to them through your demeanor, through your behavior, you try to provide a sort of comforting essence to this animal, but you are coming through as well as the high priestess. So that even this animal is like, you're kind of a weirdo. You're a little bit weird. You're completely batty. Something that can only be understood through experience. But I do feel like they're still very drawn to you. And I think this animal doesn't even know themselves, like, what is it about group one that is so magnetic to me, or, pulling me forward, because you do stand out to this animal, differently from other humans that it has maybe seen or interacted with. All right. Seated before a rich curtain and between curious black and white pillars, she, where did the card go? Oh, okay. I'm using a different deck. She beckons you to her table, smiling mischievously. As you sit, the gears on the pillars begin turning. You're almost hypnotized by the twin infinity symbols formed by the wheels and belts. Before you even ask a question, cards are already face down on the table. The crystal ball comes to life, mists swirling and lights twinkling within the solid orb as she runs her gloved hand gently over its surface. The curtain ripples. The scent of something, is it pomegranate, floats on the almost imperceptible breeze. The cards are turned over one by one. Covered with strange images and ancient symbols, they intrigue you. Shapes form within the crystal ball, changing, waxing, and waning, conveying truths that resonate in your heart but refuse to be organized into words. You look at her, silently requesting information and clarification. In response, she points at a card, raising an eyebrow, one side of her mouth lifting in a knowing and slightly mocking smile. People usually come to a tarot reading to have the veil lifted and the truth revealed. The High Priestess symbolizes truth and wisdom and understanding. The maddening thing about her, though, is that she represents the kind of knowing that cannot be told and refuses to be confined to the restrictions of order and language. The logical left brain does not comprehend her intuitive wisdom, nor can it express it. That's interesting because you both have the King of Swords reversed, which is sort of like, logic reversed. I think that you and this animal really understand each other in a way that can't quite be put into words. Which is great, actually, because, obviously the two of you can't really communicate in words, or most people and animals can't. Okay, let me see. High Priestess truths reside in the heart and soul and can only be learned via direct experience. It is the wisdom gained through an initiatory experience. It cannot be explained or studied. It is simply known. When the High Priestess beckons you, do not give way to frustration. Curb your left brain that demands understanding, enlightenment, and, above all, answers. She is here to let you know that overt answers are not in your best interest at this time in this situation. You have wisdom to gain and truths to embrace. You will only be able to do so by going through this experience without knowledge of what is to come. Sometimes you have to fly blind. Have faith that the universe has your back. Do your best and pay attention. So I think that a couple things I'm getting here is that this animal is very curious about you, and maybe you are very curious about this animal as well. You could be, with the High Priestess, kind of curious about how are things going to unfold for this animal, or in terms of your relationship with each other. What does the future hold here? And the High Priestess is telling you, there is power in surrendering to the unknown. All right, so that's all I have for this. If you want to go to the extended reading, look for the information on how to do that below. If not, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Hello, welcome to everyone who chose option number 2, this little cat dish here. So the first question we're going to be looking at is, how does this animal see and understand themselves? Then we have some other cards to answer question number 2. How do they see and understand you? And how does this animal see and understand your all's purpose in each other's lives? Then there will be an extended reading, which you can go to if you want, and the information will be below. And in that one, we'll be finding out how this animal empowers you as a familiar, how you empower this animal as a witch. So the extended is more for people who do feel a sort of spiritual or magical connection to the animal in question. And then finally, the animal's channeled message to you. So that these 3 questions will be in the extended. All right, and information on that is below. So this initial set of cards that I have laid out here has to do with how this animal sees themselves. So we have the Ace of Pentacles, the 7 of Swords, the Ace of Swords, and the 2 of Wands. We also have Frivolity, Foe, Soldier, Fortune, and Widower. I feel like this animal has a very heroic, it's almost like this animal feels like it's on the hero's journey. And I think this is an animal that really cares about its connections with other people or animals, you know, like the emotional bonds that it forges with you and probably with others as well, because this feels like a very social animal. So I think that it probably does have close bonds with other people and or animals, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not just you, but you do matter to this person as well, or to this animal, you know. This animal does really love you. I think that you bring a lot of vibrancy into this animal's life. But what I'm also getting is this animal sees itself as a go-getter. And this animal always has a plan. With the 7 of Swords, they always have a plan about what their next, you know, adventure is going to be, their next shenanigan. You know, this is an animal that's getting into like shenanigans or like misadventures, you know, like there is a very like mischievous but joyful mischievous energy with this animal. They're all about the adventure of life and what life has to offer. I kind of get, especially with these 2 ace cards, like this is an animal that, like, if this were a human child and you were at a birthday party and there was a piñata that was being burst open, this would be the child that would be like rushing in and grabbing all the candy as much as possible. You know, there is a little bit of a selfish energy and a go-getter energy with this animal, but it's in a very radiant, joyful way. Like, this animal's like, hey, life has a lot of great things to offer me, and like, I'm just here to like take it all in and swoop it all up, you know? And this is an animal too that wants more and more and more and more and more, you know, that like enough is never enough. Let's say you are petting this animal and then you stop and go to do something else, and this animal's like, hello. It's time to give me more attention. Like, the attention is not supposed to stop, or the treats are not supposed to stop, or whatever, you know, forms of indulgence. You know, this is an animal that's here to have the good life. And I don't know, I kind of feel like also this animal is not afraid to inconvenience other people for its own enjoyment, you know? Like with this faux card, I feel like this is like maybe the reaction it might get out of you sometimes because of its behavior, and it doesn't really mind that. It's like, no, it's like it's every man and every animal for its own, you know, like I need to have food right now. So if that's an inconvenience to you, I guess that's your problem, because I want food right now, you know, like I want what I want and I want it now. And, but I do sense like this is an animal that has a joyful experience of life, but it also brings joy into the world too through this, through this sort of like assertively embracing of all the good things for itself type of energy. I don't know. I think it is an animal that sort of lifts people's spirits in a way. I'm going to clarify what this widower card is here. I think that there is like a secretly more sentimental side though to this animal, because what's more obvious about them is the fact that, you know, they want more, 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 and it's all about me, me, me. But in a way that is kind of like funny and amusing, I think. But there's a side of this animal, because it is very social, right? Like I said, it cares about the other people and animals around it, even if it doesn't have a problem inconveniencing, you know, like if there are other animals racing for the food bowl, like it'll probably push these animals out of the way to get there first. But it still really cares, and this cares about other people and animals. And this animal has maybe lost someone out of its life, either again like human or animal, and it remembers, you know, which is interesting because we also have this elephant coming up in the dish, and elephants have a very long, prolonged grief process. They do remember, and they return back, I believe, to the you know, quote unquote burial site, but like wherever the elephant who has died, wherever its bones remain, I think they do go back to mourn the loss. It's like paying their respects. And also with this, no act of kindness, however small, is ever wasted. I mean, this animal loves it when people are kind to it, and it'll like aggressively ask for kindness too. It's like, yeah, you should want to like pet me. You should want to give me treats. Why wouldn't you want to do that? But it does also appreciate all of those things, and it remembers who is kind and who's willing to inconvenience themselves for this animal and who isn't. And they do take note of that, and they do really appreciate the amount of, you know, energy, resources, time, attention, etc. that have been bestowed upon them. They really enjoy and appreciate that. And I feel like you are very special to this animal. I mean, this animal is self-focused, but not to the point where they don't notice you as being special to them among, you know, the many other, you know, people / animals in their life. You're very special. And I'm getting that because of these ruby red slippers. There's something about you that is kind of like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. And, you know, yeah, like she just had a very charismatic, she drew all these interesting people to her, and experiences to her. And I think that you have that sort of like magical, vivacious quality to you from the perspective of this animal. And we haven't even gotten to the point of the reading that is supposed to be about how they perceive you. So I think the fact that you keep showing up here does show me how special you are to this animal, which means a lot because they're pretty much all about themselves. But they really care a lot about you. So now we will get to the part here that is about how they see you. We have the Muse. Not these cards yet. The Muse, okay. We have Dependency, Gifts from the Past, Broken and Hatched, we have, I want to just put these up right, the Four of Swords, the Lovers, they do love you. This animal loves you very much. The Ten of Wands and the Eight of Cups. Okay, let me just move the camera back so we can see all of the cards here. Okay, so this is how they see you. Let me take a moment to take it all in. All right, so the first thing I'm getting here with dependency, gifts from the past, and broken and hatched is that there's been some sort of give and take between you and this animal, probably more of you giving to them, you know, but it can be a reverse. Like maybe you've been giving certain things to them, like treats or pets or whatever, and then in the return, they're giving you attention or their cuteness or, you know, funniness or whatever. But there is a back and forth here, but it seems like with these three cards, dependency, gifts from the past, broken and hatched, maybe the two of you have had to figure out a pattern that works better for both of you or something. Like it could be that you have been trying to show this animal that it can't force its will upon you so much. You know, it's like, okay, sure, you want to go for a walk or you want a treat or this or that, but, you know, you can't just inconvenience me at every moment. So they are noticing that they're seeing you as someone who actually shows love to them through setting boundaries. So if you're setting boundaries with this animal, they do see that as actually an expression of love, especially here with the Muse card. Like they can kind of see that it comes from your soul. And I think that also, like, you and this animal are really building memories with each other. You know, like even moments that may have been sort of difficult for you where you're trying to set boundaries and like show this animal like what it can get away with and what it can't get away with, you know, reasonably. Even those are like memories for this animal. And I do feel like, you know, there is a sense of love here between the two of you, where they love you even when you have to kind of like set those boundaries. Like look on this Four of Swords. The Four of Swords generally is about inner peace, serenity, and all of that. And you see the interaction between this woman and this cat. It's like this animal, you know, regardless of what type of animal it is, it sees that you are trying to create a peaceful life for yourself, and that means that you have to prioritize yourself, and you can't just always be indulging this animal with whatever it wants at, you know, whatever moment. There are boundaries that have to be set. So they do respect you. I feel like there is a lot of respect because this animal is like, okay, fair enough. Like I probably wouldn't let someone just like demand all of the time and energy and resources from me in every moment either. Like I like my peace. So it notices you having that self-respect enough to set boundaries. And with the Lover's card again, there's like, you know, this kind of sense of fairness and love. They love and appreciate all of the things that you do for them. They definitely love when you do indulge them, you know, give them time, attention, you know, play with them, things like that. But they also appreciate the fact that you are equally honoring and respecting yourself. I think when you are setting boundaries, like if you're putting this animal into a timeout, or if you're just, you know, whatever it is that you're doing where you're saying, okay, no, you can have a treat sometime, but you can't have a treat right now, or whatever it is, like, I will say that they don't like that, but I think they know that you're always going to still eventually give it to them. So they are, I think right now they're seeing you as someone who is teaching them how to wait for the right moment and how to be comfortable with the fact that right now isn't the right moment. So maybe I need to occupy myself with something else, you know. So if it isn't the right time for my dinner, maybe I can go over here and chew on my chew toy or whatever like that to occupy myself, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I would say overall, how does this animal see you? They see you as beautiful and lovely and someone that they're building memories with and who loves them through some sort of balance of indulging them and setting boundaries with them. So the last question we're going to ask is, how does this animal see and understand your purpose in each other's lives? And so give me a moment to lay out these cards. All right. So over here are cards representing you. These are representing the animal. This is kind of the energy between. So how does this animal understand your all's purpose in each other's lives? I think on your end, this animal knows that it causes you pain and frustration sometimes. We have the Three of Swords, Justice, the Tower reversed, and Seven of Pentacles reversed. They know that they try your patience. Like, it is difficult being patient with this animal, and I think that you feel the pain of it. It's like you don't want to punish this animal, or you don't want to always set boundaries and things, but like you have to for your own peace of mind. It's the right thing to do to set these boundaries, and you just have to do it. I mean, you have to set boundaries with this animal, and the animal knows that you don't necessarily like setting those boundaries always, but and the animal knows that you don't always like its behavior when it's like pushing and pushing and pushing against the boundaries and trying to see what it can get away with either. So you're definitely learning patience through this process, which does relate to your own inner child healing, because, you know, maybe it's bringing you a greater understanding of, you know, how maybe your parents had to be patient with you growing up or something like that, even if you're not consciously aware of it. There is some sort of inner child healing going on here, where your interaction with this animal is making you understand that discipline and boundaries are still a way of demonstrating love, and that it's not always easy to set those boundaries and provide that discipline, but it is a necessary part of the act of loving and caring and providing support for an animal or a child, right? On their end, we have the Queen of Swords, the Page of Pentacles, Strength, and the Fool. I think that what this animal is understanding is also patience. It's learning the wisdom of, if I'm patient and if I abide by the boundaries and the rules, then the reward will be really good. So it's almost like this animal is understanding, like, I actually have more power over this human if I learn to control myself. The more I can learn how to control myself, the more this human will actually give me the things that I love. So it's interesting. Both of you are learning patience, but in a different way. You're learning to be patient with the animal and with the process of teaching the animal how to abide by these rules and boundaries. The animal is learning that if I'm patient and I wait until the right time, when it is supposed to be dinner time, that we'll both have a better experience. And with the Strength card, I still feel like this animal basically feels like it's got you wrapped around their pinky finger, but it's feeling like you're going to be wrapped around my pinky finger more if I am playing by the rules. It feels empowered through that process of learning the rules. Now, it is still shown here by the Page of Pentacles, so this animal is still in a process of learning, also with the Fool card. It's like it hasn't learned the rules and the boundaries perfectly yet, but it does understand that you're trying to teach it something about boundaries, and it does actually appreciate those lessons. So there's a sense of appreciation here from this animal for the way that you love it. This animal feels very strongly loved, actually, by the way that you set these boundaries. All right. So I'm going to pull like one final message for you. And I'm going to read this. And then, of course, there's the extended, which you can go to as well. But I want to read a message from the Steampunk Tarot. I did that in the first reading as well, and it was a really powerful, pertinent message with the Four of Swords. And that was something that came up before about you needing to have your own peace of mind, setting boundaries so that you can have a sense of peace. But let's see what it says in this book, because this is going to be a little bit of an extended message about your relationship to this animal. Four of Swords. Don't be misled. That is a lot harder than it looks. Core meaning, respite from troubles. Yeah, so having a sense of like peace and relaxation when this animal is just really trying your nerves and being frustrated, getting to that place of peace and being able to find rest and relaxation for yourself is a lot harder than it looks. Okay, so Spirit is acknowledging that that is difficult, that this this animal really is trying your patience. All right, we may question the wisdom of enjoying a nap while in the midst of a tricky or dangerous situation. This man, however, appears to be doing just that. A closer look at the situation may convince us that this course of action is actually an excellent choice. The circumstances or events that are set in motion, represented by the 3 swords hanging from the ceiling, are going to happen. This animal is going to cause some sort of turbulence again. The hourglass lets us know that it is just a matter of time because we see 3 swords aimed at his head and body. We assume he logically concluded that no good will come of these events. While he has imagined how the situation will play out, he has clearly not thought of a way to stop or change the course of events. In similar situations, do you flail about, frustrated and anxious because you have to do something, anything? Our ability to project into and imagine the future is a function of our minds. This ability is a double-edged sword. While imagining the future, we are either prone to hope or worry. When our minds are tangled up with thoughts and fear, it is hard to hear inspired solutions whispered to our souls. By taking a time out and quieting our minds, we are more likely to receive a divine message or inspired solution. Are we missing a page here? Okay. Swords correspond to the element of air, as do birds of all sorts, such as the raven on the windowsill. Birds often symbolize messages from the heavens or other divine sources. Ravens don't generally enter a space if swords are flying around. When this card shows up in a reading, remember, still the swords, still the mind. The problems will continue to exist, but you'll be able to see them with different eyes. Yeah, so I think that what Spirit is reminding you in terms of, like dealing with your relationship with this animal is understanding that, trying to get into a place of mental calmness or stillness, you can't just be always anxious. And I do feel like this animal does make you pretty anxious sometimes with the 3 of Swords and the Tower reversed. It's really important to try your best to get into a calm frame of mind and kind of let go of it a little bit, let go of even thinking about the problems regarding this animal, I think would be helpful, because the insights, the solutions will come to you. If you're needing to problem solve certain problematic behaviors that this animal is presenting with, the key or the solution to that is in your intuitive mind, and it's ready to be switched on, but you're not going to be able to access that answer or that solution if you're in anxiety mode. So it is very important to find peacefulness and mental stillness in whatever way that you can. Maybe you need to spend some time away from this animal in order to do that. I don't know, but whatever it is, that's going to be necessary for that aha moment of like, oh, this is the solution. The solution is there and it is coming to you. All right. So if you want to go to the extended, information on how to do that is below. And again, we're going to be asking this animal's empowerment to you as your familiar, your empowerment to this animal, from you being a witch or a witchy person, however you define yourself. Or you could just say, generally speaking, your empowerment to them. And then this animal's channeled message to you. So I think this is going to be more for people who feel an especially strong, like spiritual or magical connection to the animal in question. But probably it would be interesting to to hear this message for anyone, you know, if you just have a close bond to your animal. I'm using the terms familiar and witch just because I wanted to, because these are answers that I, you know, I'm interested in myself. So I'm thinking someone else out there might be. If not, that's okay too. But if you are interested in the extended, just use the links below to purchase and get to that extended reading. And all right, so I hope you enjoyed this message, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you around. Bye-bye. All right, welcome to everyone who chose option number 3, this particular little cat bowl. All right, so, oh, I think it's come to me what this stone is, by the way. I couldn't think of it in the intro. I think this is a labradorite, this rosette. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. All right. So first of all, what I get, so this first, you know, array of cards is about how this animal sees and understands itself. Next, we'll have cards that are about how it sees and understands you. And then how does this animal see and understand your all's purpose in each other's lives? So first of all, this animal sees itself as wanting to kind of like share in, I think it wants to share in the household responsibilities. Now, whether this animal actually can do that or not, that it wants to be able to, like, I don't know, I feel like this animal would want to be able to help you, like, cook and clean and stuff like that if it could, or, like, make repairs about the house. Like, I think this animal is very aware of your responsibilities, you know, domestically, around the house or around the yard. This animal notices you, like, being a caretaker, not only of the animal, but of, you know, maybe the house itself, or you're doing chores, you're doing little things for other people. And this animal sees itself as, you know, that it has its own role in a way in the household, and it wants to be a contributor to the household in some way. And I think that it sees itself as contributing. You know, maybe part of what it understands is that it's here to love you. You know, like, well, I can't wash the dishes or take out the trash, but I can love you. And I think that this animal definitely understands the practical usefulness of embodying that role of, you know, just being a source of emotional support. Because with this Joker card, and on this particular deck, it says the future is female. You know, most of my viewers are female. You may not be. So if it doesn't relate to you, then just throw it out the window. But I think that this animal kind of understands somehow that you are a very empowered person, and this animal also sees itself as equally empowered somehow in life. There's a mutual respect here, and I think that this animal sees itself as deserving of respect for all that it offers. This animal knows that it really does offer a lot, you know? And maybe a lot of what it offers is friendship, you know, companionship, someone to turn to, someone to lean on. You know, it's almost like maybe you turn to this animal for friendship, or even other humans maybe do. You know, if like you live in a household with multiple people, like, this animal is very aware that it has a special place in your heart and in the hearts of, you know, other people or animals in the household. And that with Messenger and Priest, I feel like this animal is, and maybe it's happening in a more spiritual sense, but I think that this animal does feel like it provides you with answers or something, or like maybe you talk to this animal about your troubles. This animal definitely feels like it has wisdom to give you or something, or like it can teach you certain things. And it takes that role very seriously. Because, I mean, you're a source of comfort for this animal, but they also see themselves as being a source of comfort for you. And it feels very balanced. there's a lot of love and support and caretaking that occurs in both directions. From the perspective of this animal, it is equal. What they give to you, they feel, and what they provide to you is equal to what you provide to them. It's perhaps different, but it is equal in terms of the level of support. All right, so how does this animal view you? We have the final girl. Interesting. Ooh, death of the deceitful. Wow. Share tenderness. Inside looking out. I'll move the camera in a moment so we can see the cards better. Six of Wands. Knave of Pentacles. The Emperor. And Queen of Pentacles. Let me move these so we're just looking at our new cards here. Okay, let me zoom this out so you can see better all of the cards. All right, so first of all, with the final girl, I mean, this is about the final girl outwits and outlasts. I'll put it here if you want to pause and read it all. In horror, particularly the slasher subgenre, the final girl is the last remaining survivor of a killer on the loose. She navigates, maybe I'll just read it all for you. She navigates through a nightmare of gore and murder, averting certain death and living to tell the tale. In slashers, the final girl typically exudes patriarchal values of purity, such as sexual abstinence or naivety, while the killer's other victims are punished for their indiscretions. However, the final girl exchanges this innocence for the psychic trauma of all she has witnessed, and her experience later becomes a necessity in ultimately stopping the killer for good. When pulled upright, the final girl may signal that you have the tools to endure an upcoming radical shift, or that luck is on your side at the moment. She may also signal that you'll be entering a fearful situation, but keeping calm will be essential to keeping your head, literally in this case. When pulled in reverse, the final girl may signal that you've become lost in painful memories, or that your adrenaline is in overdrive. What choices can you make to channel your energy away from frenzy and into focus? It might also be a good time to make sure a resolved issue is really dead and buried. Upright, survival, ingenuity, and luck. Reversed, psychic wounds, fearfulness, avoidance, and frenzy. So how does this animal see you? Like, this animal is very aware that you have endured some very traumatic experience and you've lived to tell the tale. Especially with death followed by death of the deceitful, like, this animal knows that you have experienced some very horrible people probably in your life, some very deceitful, ruthless, perhaps even evil people have come into your life, and you have, again, even on this card, like, there's this sort of insight or knowledge that comes from it because her third eye is open. She's holding these two skulls. This animal sees you as very wise, but that wisdom came to you through trauma, basically, And with shared tenderness, like, I think that the trauma and the pain that you have experienced have taught you how to be a more loving person, how to cultivate loving kindness in your world. And then with inside looking out, it's like, maybe you've learned to trade the drama of all of the tumultuous and painful experiences you've had for kind of just enjoying moments of calmness, like sitting and looking out the window and or just sitting quietly and reading a book or something. Like, this animal knows that you understand the significance of stillness and quiet and moments that are serene because you have experienced so much trauma and pain. And I feel, this animal knows very much that you have experienced pain, it's almost like you have to keep reinventing yourself or like re-emerging from trauma or traumas, because even if the actual trauma is over, the memory of the trauma resurfaces from time to time, or repercussions from the trauma come out, like a little jack in the box. They jump out at you and, bring back that pain, or there's just more that has to be purged. And I think this animal understands you to be on a long-term healing process when it comes to that trauma. And you're someone who has to balance that kind of delicate inner child who, and maybe this happened in your childhood or maybe not, but that delicate inner self, that experienced all of that pain. You have to balance that with the fact that, as the Emperor card, you're someone who has to earn a living, has to take care of certain responsibilities, like you have to kind of toughen up and figure out how to face the realities of life at the same time as knowing that you have these tremendous wounds that you faced. And I feel like this animal sees you with so much respect for your ability to handle all of this. Even as an animal, it understands that what you have faced is extremely difficult. And I think that this animal sort of has an empathy for you. They sort of share in your pain in a sense. Maybe you and this animal both share in each other's pain, But yeah, there's so much empathy here. I feel like I would say overall, how does this animal see you? As someone who is highly empathic and very attuned to the emotional experiences of others because of, the difficulty of whatever you've been through. All right, so finally we're going to look at how does this animal understand your all's purpose in each other's lives? Let me just lay out these cards. All right, so how does this animal for group 3, how do they feel, what do they feel is the purpose that you have in each other's lives? So your energy is over here, their energy is here, and then the collective energy is between, which is healing energy. So clearly this animal feels that the two of you have a strong healing impact on each other. And I'm going to start on their side. We have the Magician, the Star, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Two of Swords. So this is interesting. This animal is coming through with 3 major arcana cards. I feel like this animal basically feels like it is a blessing to you. It sees itself as having come into your life to bestow blessings upon you and to bestow love. I think that really, and we got a sense of this before, this animal does feel like it's sort of a teacher or a guide to you, It feels like it can show you a different way to approach life that could be more healing to you. And in particular, I'm getting the message of like, maybe you're focused on sometimes you do get caught up in the frenzy that we mentioned before with that, the Final Girl card. It talks about frenzy and all of that, like chaos and noise, the noise of life. With this Wheel of Fortune too, like maybe you're someone who is, like there's a lot of noise through media. Maybe you're on your phone and there's a lot of media going on or something like that and lots of noise. I think that this animal tries to kind of teach you, if there's going to be noise, let it be something positive, like music that makes you happy or lifts you up rather than noise that brings in more drama and conflict and chaos. Because we have the Two of Swords here. I think this animal likes when things are peaceful and calm and serene. And I think this animal is aware that you may have a sort of self-destructive quality to you where sometimes you invite in chaos in a way. And, you know, I think this animal wants to kind of show you that that isn't necessary. And that there is a lot to be said of just, you know, sitting quietly and serenely. You know, I think this is what this animal likes to do. So maybe they're teaching you how to embrace more of just like quiet moments. Like, hey, be more like me, curl up into a ball and have a nap, or just sit and look out the window, a type of thing. Now, I do think that this animal also is mischievous and playful too, with the magician and the star. And so they do want to teach you too about, like, you know, playfulness, and that playfulness is important. It's not like we just want to sit around quiet and boring all the time, but there is something to do, you know, if you're going to be playful and mischievous, do it in a way that is self-affirming and self-enriching rather than inviting in chaos. And if you're going to be peaceful and serene as well, the purpose of that is to bring you more of a sense of inner peace. But yeah, I think that this animal feels like it's kind of here to teach you something about inner peace and kind of like just enjoyment of life. On your end, we have the Six of Pentacles reversed, the Eight of Wands reversed, the Ten of Swords, and the Seven of Cups. I think that, you know, one of the struggles that you have, that you learn from this animal, is understanding a sense of self-worth, and that what you have to offer matters, and that what you have to offer is enough, you know? So it's like, maybe you go through times where you're like, no matter what I do for this animal, it's never enough. Maybe I'm never a good enough, you know, human to this animal. I feed them, I take care of them, I'm doing all the right things, but it feels like sometimes there could still be a pervading sense of, is it enough? Am I being loving enough? Am I putting this animal's needs first enough? I think that part of the healing for you is learning, yes, that you are enough, that you are more than enough, because it's interesting, we saw before that this animal feels that it is contributing to your life, and this animal does feel enough, you know. So I think that through your relationship to this animal, you're learning to kind of let go and surrender. It's like you can't make everything perfect, and if you being enough is contingent on you making everything perfect, then you're probably not going to be enough. So if that's your mindset, you should probably shift that mindset. So that you can embody and rest into and relax into this feeling of, I am worthy, I am enough. What I'm doing, what I'm offering is more than enough. I don't have to earn my love. I don't have to earn my respect. But what I also feel like is this animal kind of gives you space to maybe confront those shadow aspects of worthiness, you know? Like, I think that you're not afraid of being your true self in front of this animal and allowing this animal to see all of who you are. This animal has probably seen aspects of your shadow, and I think that gives you a level of comfort with your shadow aspects in a way. It's like, well, it's been seen, you know, it's out there, you know, because normally we try to hide your shadow, but it's nice at least to have, you know, this one person, I'm going to call this animal a person. It's nice to have someone who you can show all of yourself to, you know, all of the different facets of yourself, and still be loved and accepted, which definitely this animal does. You don't have to try to cultivate some sort of perfect mask when it comes to this animal. This animal knows that you're not perfect, and clearly they still love you. All right, so we're going to get a final message here. This is a final message, and then the extended, of course, is still available. Let's see which one. But I'm going to read from the book. I did this in the first two readings, and it was a really pertinent message when it came to your relationship to the animal. And yours is the Four of Cups. So this is just a little bit of final further insight before we go into the extended. And I think I already explained to you what the extended would be. It would be questions 4, 5, and 6 here, if you can read my handwriting. All All right, but final message in this video is the Four of Cups. No, I don't want any tea. Can't you see that I am busy? Core meaning, dissatisfaction with reality. So maybe you and this animal both have this attitude sometimes, this fussy, like, huh, like, I don't want anything to do with you. Just leave me alone, you know, kind of an energy, you know, where you both need to kind of like retreat into your own emotions or something. All right, some numbers have very strong associations. 4 is such a number, and it resonates with stability, sturdiness, and reliability. The four-sided shape, the square, sometimes implies good, honest, and proper, as in a square deal. However, during the Jazz Age, square came to mean stuffy or old-fashioned, and was used to describe people who didn't keep up with the cultural times. In other words, those who were culturally stagnant. The negative extreme of stability is stagnation. So yeah, that's one of the things that I associate with the Four of Cups too. It's not necessarily a negative card. It's more about when you have a sense of emotional security with someone, in this case, that you and this pet have such a strong sense of familiarity and comfort with each other that it's almost sometimes to the point of sort of taking each other for granted, or you feel comfortable with taking each other for granted. It's like, we don't have to cling to each other. Like we can, have these moments apart because I know that we have this sense of safety with each other, that you're always going to be there for me and I'm always going to be there for you. All right. Let us look at the card and its depiction of this fine gentleman as he gazes upon his 3 very fine chalices. He doesn't look very happy, does he? He's been looking at them for a long time. If we watch long enough, perhaps we'll see a spider spin a web off the edge of his shoe. The longer he stares, the unhappier he becomes. He is the very picture of ennui, I think is how you pronounce that, I don't know. And what is ennui but emotions in stagnation? Although his situation looks safe, this state can be deceptively dangerous. Nothing is being achieved. The disillusion and boredom sap all energy. If he continues in this manner, he will feel too weary to rouse himself. Mired down in the muck of dullness, our fine friend could lose any zest for life, becoming like the living dead. Perhaps that skull on the shelf is a well-placed warning. Likely he'll never see it, though, or that extraordinary chalice nearby. If you find this card in your reading, you might want to be wiser than the man in the picture and take it as a warning. Boredom and dissatisfaction are normal experiences in life. Life is not always thrilling. How long, though, should you brood over such disappointments? At what point does feeling listless stop being an emotion and start being a choice? But this card is not a sermon. It simply lets you know that ennui is present in the situation. What you choose to do with that information is entirely up to you, but there is that skull in the picture. Yeah, I think I think that the message here is just, like you and this animal have come to a point where you kind of trust that the other one is there. It's like every day you're there, I'm there, we're both here. I think it's almost like for lack of a better phrase, it's like the honeymoon period is over. When you get a new pet, it's exciting and fun, and especially when they're little, it's like you want to play lots of games with them and stuff. This could be just a signal that maybe you should do that more. Maybe you should try to have some sort of more playfulness, because it feels like it's a very sedate, very calm, a little bit boring energy. And that's part of what this animal is teaching you, right? Is to understand how to be calm. But they also want to teach you about having fun as well. So doing something to kind of eradicate the boredom, or ennui, or, sort of emotional stagnation that is in your home that you share with this animal, could be helpful at this time. Let's switch things up. Let's do something exciting and fun, It's just making sure that to know that those moments are just as important as the kind of quiet moments when you're just sitting quietly and either enjoying each other's company, or like, you know, maybe you're each in your separate parts of the home and you're both just kind of like, you know, quietly doing your own thing. Whatever it happens to be, like a little bit of excitement now and then is perhaps needed. So, and also I think it's a message of not taking, you know, this animal for granted. This is a very special animal, and they do a lot for you, you know, probably more than you realized. All right, so hopefully that is helpful. If you want to go to the extended, again, these 4 questions are the ones that we're going to answer. How does this animal empower you? How do you empower this animal? And the animal's channeled message to you. Information on how to purchase the extended is below. I'll see you there, or I'll see you elsewhere. I hope you enjoyed this reading. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.